Hello, myself Sonal Ramakrishna. This is basically the 69th part basically of PHP. In this basically we are discussing the OOPS basically. That is basically the full form is object oriented programming. That means programming basically we are doing of object oriented. So one of the person क्या है यार basically programming is there, and in programming also basically programming itself basically very complicated. Now basically you came to something new basically, that is object oriented programming. So one of the person told that one person basically given one example. One of the company basically got some very dangerous project basically. They told that basically, yeah, this project I don't think basically we can able to do this, that basically each and every stuff basically they started telling, right? Each and everything basically they started telling you. But one of the project director and CEO basically told that basically any damn project basically we can do that project in easy manner by managing the stuff. So he want to say that if you do the management perfectly, if we do the management perfectly, then project is easy in doing basically. So same way PHP say that basically we have created PHP basically. We have created PHP in that way that the developers, the PHP customers basically is not supposed to be unhappy basically. So the programmer can is easily able to do the programming. In that way basically we have done the programming. So that is basically called as a management basically. If you see basically Java basically, or if you see .NET basically, it's very tough basically in doing the programming. But the management basically like the .NET has done, the PHP group basically has done the creation of the PHP designing. It basically has created doing programming very easy. Like oops, object oriented basically programming basically. PHP say that basically we have given one object oriented programming concept basically. And that is basically good for the developers, good for the customers, good for the user ends. So like this basically the benefits are there basically. So what actually is oops basically? Programming is about writing procedures, functions, operations, this that basically each and every stuff basically creating objects basically. So here basically you want to say that basically functions are there, procedures are there, then the classes are there. Then object oriented programming has the several advantages and procedural programming very procedural programming. Actually here basically we can change the word as a programming language has a several advantage over object oriented programming also. Basically you can say object oriented programming, or basically you can write down this as a procedural programming basically. Whatever way basically you write. Oops is the fastest and easier to execute basically. One of the person told that these all are basically advantages, features, everything basically you can say. Clear structural is there. Then the repeat is not there basically. Repeat means once the class is created, that can be used basically again. So you don't have to write down again the code basically. So like this basically reusable are also there basically. What are the classes and objectives? So one of the person told that what if you are telling that basically it's object oriented programming, so in that basically classes is there always, namespaces are also there. Like this basically in .NET basically namespace are there, in Java basically namespace are there, here basically namespace are there basically, but in some version. So in this basically we are seeing class basically. So namespace also we will say later on basically class and objects basically. So what knows the person to make क्या class क्या है basically. So 1% is class itself says that basically fifth standard class, fourth standard class. Within that class basically teacher is there, students basically are they all are objects basically. They are known as one of the person to that. Who is that person? Who is that basically student basically? So one of the person told that अरे ये तो फिफ्थ क्लास फिफ्थ का जयश्री मैडम का स्टूडेंट है. So like this he was able to identify himself basically. So his name basically was not identified. His class, his teacher name, like this basically was getting identified. So one is class. Class itself basically says like this. So this is the best example basically. One more example basically this book has given. Class is fruits and objects are apple, orange, mango, like this. Class is car. Then the car company name Volvo, Audi, Toyota, like this basically. So one of the person told that why basically like this the creation basically created. One function basically we created and we don't want to repeat that function basically. You can directly create the function basically in one class, or basically you can do one thing, create all functions basically in one class and use that class basically everywhere basically whenever you wherever just include the class name. That's all basically. So there are many advantages and most disadvantages basically are very less basically. Disadvantages is that basically it creates memory in the object basically creates memory in the reference basically reference memory in the system basically. Like this basically you have to clear everything basically. If you will not clear then basically it will create problem basically. But if you will close the program basically then it will get clear. But if the PHP program basically is very lengthy. Lengthy means once the browser is open, it will close at evening time only. So that basically we can say inventory ERP system basically when you create in PHP. That time basically once the browser is open, it will close on evening time only basically. That's basically in evening time. So that time basically this type of object oriented programming basically creates problem. So you have to very clear about the object oriented stuff basically, because once the object is open it will close. If you have not closed then basically it will close at evening time only when the browser will get closed basically. So you can just imagine basically object oriented programming has many advantages. Many means it's a huge advantage, but disadvantages are also up to that level basically. So you have to be very careful basically while doing the object oriented programming. So that is basically the main thing basically. But if one person basically is doing the creating one ERP or basically the payroll system basically or basically the inventory system, then he might be up to that level basically. He will create the exact frameworks, exact objects, exact class basically. So his programming also would be up to that level only. So that basically it can be reusable. It can be reusable, and if he basically checks the memory level programming, then basically it's more good basically. Memory level means once the memory is allocated, then basically at what time basically you have to clear the memory, the that basically. So that everything basically is up to the level. So whatever class basically you are creating, when to clear out that class now basically that is must basically, and when to not clear, and which class basically are never cleared. So master class basically never gets cleared. Why? Because they always are not editable, not added. So that basically very rare basically this type of thing basically happens. So that's why basically the class, master class basically never gets deallocated basically. So in next video basically we are going to see more of this topic.